So this demonstration is on a basic coil pot. So I'm starting off taking a piece of clay and rolling it out. Going to make it about the thickness of a pencil. And once I have that pretty set, I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm making the base, rolling to a ball and flattening it to about a ½ inch thick. And this will be the base for my coil pot. Using a fork and some water to score, getting it ready to wrap the coil around the base. And as I wrap this up, I like to have about an inch or so of a base, and I'm pressing it against that, and then my wooden stick I'm using to blend into the base. So this is the beginning of my coil pot. Once I'm done doing that, I kind of smooth that out. So you won't need many tools for this. You'll need something to score, and you'll need some kind of a wooden stick, so a knife and a popsicle stick would pretty much do the trick for this. I've flipped it up underneath so I could make sure to secure the bottom before I go further. It's a pretty important thing to kind of make sure that we're securing this as we go, because this is the foundation for your coil pot. I set that aside. I'm going to start building up some more coils. So the important thing is when you're rolling coils out is to use all of your hands and really make sure you're stretching your arms out. If the coils get too long, as you see here, you can kind of break it in two and continue rolling. Now I have a couple of coils that are ready to go for the next layer. Score as you go. And this is just a winding technique where I'm just kind of winding it around like rope, pressing it into the rest of the clay, making sure it's secure. And this technique would be used whether you show the coils or you blend them. In this particular case, this coil pot is a traditional modern coil pot, in that you do not blend the coils to erase them. You want to see them visibly on the outside. But I always blend the coils on the inside to make sure that it's secure and that it's waterproof. And I'm just smoothing that out. A little bit of water and just rubbing it, getting out the tool marks from the wooden tool that I just used. So I'm getting more clay so I can build up further. And at this point, I'm going to start thinking about kind of more decorative finishes to the coil pot. And notice also that I keep moving my hands back and forth. I don't keep it in one spot. You want to really feel for the areas that are too thick because you want them even. And we're going for pencil thickness. And at this point, what I'm doing is I'm making those decorative elements. So I'm kind of making little sections to create little spiral shapes. And you can do what I'm doing, where I just make a few to kind of get ready. And it can be any kind of shape. It doesn't have to be that kind of spiral. It can be zigzags, and you can even spell letters out if you wish. And here I am, of course, scoring, making sure that's attached. And my hands I dip them in water just to kind of give a little extra attachment. The water really helps. So your coil pots may have little spaces in between. As you can see, I have some spaces in between where it's obviously not going to be waterproof at that point. And that's fine. That it's not necessary that this style of coil pot is completely waterproof. However, the foundation, you really want to make sure that you blend and secure, because that is the base of your piece. So I didn't quite make enough, so I'm making a couple more to finish up my design. And just repeat the previous procedure. And as you can see, I didn't need that last one, so I just put that back on the pile of clay that I was using. And now what I'm doing is I'm blending that in on the inside, and notice that my other hand is supporting the clay on the outside. That part's really important, that when you're blending on the inside of anything, that you have equal pressure on the outside. If you don't, you'll kind of knock those coils off. And here I'm making just one last coil for the top, just to give it kind of a finish to the pot. And it does take a little bit of practice to get those coils rolled out nicely. So you might want to really make sure you keep those hands moving back and forth, and give yourself enough space on your table. You don't want to ever roll something and not have enough room to move. So the table that I'm using I have a wooden board, and I've covered it with canvas. Canvas is a fantastic thing to use because it doesn't allow the clay to stick to the table. But with coiling, you have to be very careful about that, because as you're rolling it out, if your table is kind of wet or sticky, like a metal table or a glass table, the possibility of your clay sticking is pretty good. Sometimes you can use newspaper. Just make sure your table is really dry. So here I'm kind of giving little finish accent pieces. I decided to make a few little hearts just to kind of finish the areas that I had connected the clay. It's just something I always like to do when I make coil pots. It's an optional thing, but I sometimes enjoy doing that. So I'm finding the areas where the clay connected and just scoring on those little hearts. And then kind of pressing them in, making sure they stick well. And as you can see that I'm doing this, I just wanted you to see that this isn't a final product yet. The video doesn't show me completing it, but one thing I like to do when I'm completely done with the design part and the building part of making a coil pot is I like to go over all of the lines. Often I use a number 2 pencil, and I'll take that pencil and I'll go over the lines with it, and it really gives it a nice finish. And you can also use a paintbrush to really make sure you're getting rid of any tool marks or any cracked clay, anything like that. And that would be the final step of that. But that is it for now.